Launch campaigns, bonus plans, and performance reviews expand, yet genuine energy and creativity shrink within many workplaces. Leaders introduce contests, scorecards, and new incentives, but people quietly disengage once the initial novelty and fear fade. For decades, motivation was seen as satisfying basic needs or responding to external rewards and punishments from others. That view fit routine factory work, where tasks were simple, repeatable, and controlled, but modern problem-solving looks very different. Today, many jobs demand curiosity, initiative, and judgment, so carrot-and-stick tactics often create anxiety rather than real commitment. When people feel controlled or constantly monitored, they narrowly focus on avoiding mistakes rather than exploring better ways to do the work. Consider a team where every task is measured, every hour logged, and every bonus tied to short-term output targets. Members start gaming the metrics, hiding problems, and losing the internal satisfaction that initially drew them to the work. This video is inspired by Drive by Daniel Pink, so buy the book for a fuller framework on modern motivation. If understanding what truly lights people up at work matters, subscribe for more grounded breakdowns of these ideas. A central idea is that human beings are driven by several overlapping motivations that guide behaviour in various situations. The oldest drive is about biological survival, the second is centred on rewards and punishments, and a third involves intrinsic interest and growth. Experiments with rhesus monkeys solving mechanical puzzles showed that they worked persistently, even without food or physical rewards. When food rewards were introduced, their performance actually declined, suggesting that external treats could disrupt a deeper, built-in curiosity. Later studies with students playing Soma puzzles found that pay increased short-term effort, but weakened interest when rewards stopped. Once people began treating play as paid work, they were less likely to return voluntarily when the payment disappeared. These findings point to a third drive where satisfaction comes from the activity itself and the learning it provides. In modern life, this drive is evident whenever people stay absorbed in challenges long after clocks, supervisors, and prizes stop pushing them. Understanding the three drives explains why simple incentives sometimes work and other times backfire badly in creative or complex settings. A practical first step is to notice where external rewards are crowding out enjoyment and where curiosity already pulls effort forward. Another key distinction is between routine tasks with clear procedures and creative tasks that require exploration and fresh connections. For routine, algorithmic work, promised rewards, and threatened penalties can boost speed and consistency without much harm to originality. For conceptual, heuristic work that depends on insight, those same incentives often narrow focus so sharply that ideas become less flexible. People under heavy pressure to earn bonuses or avoid punishment may cling to safe answers instead of testing unusual possibilities. Research on the candle problem showed that high incentives improved performance only when tasks were mechanical, not when insight was required. When the task demanded reimagining objects and relaxing mental habits, higher rewards actually produced slower solutions and more frustration. Studies on blood donation revealed similar patterns, as paying people sometimes reduced participation by crowding out signals of generosity and care. Once helping became a transaction, some individuals felt less inclined to offer blood simply because it was the right thing. These patterns reveal that carrots and sticks can be useful tools for narrow chores but dangerous defaults for meaningful work. A wise approach is to separate genuinely routine duties from creative challenges, then design rewards and structures differently for each group. Building on these foundations, another concept contrasts Type X behavior with Type Y behavior as two motivational styles. Type X behavior is primarily driven by external rewards, recognition, and comparisons. So attention focuses on actions that will be noticed. Type 1 behavior, on the other hand, is fueled by intrinsic motives such as growth, curiosity, and contribution, even when no one is watching. People exhibiting Type 1 patterns still appreciate fair pay and appreciation, but they view these as conditions, not primary goals. Over time, Type X habits can make achievement feel hollow, as each reward quickly fades and demands an even bigger replacement. Type I habits, however, deepen engagement, as progress, learning, and usefulness provide renewable sources of satisfaction and momentum. Imagine a salesperson focused solely on quarterly rankings, compared with another who cares most about mastering the craft of serving customers well. The second path tends to produce more thoughtful decisions, better relationships, and more resilience when immediate numbers temporarily fall short. This framework aligns with a broader shift toward designing work that supports autonomy, mastery, and purpose, rather than mere compliance. If reframing motivation around these deeper drivers feels useful, subscribe to continue exploring practical ways to encourage more Type 1 behaviour. One major element of modern motivation is autonomy, the desire to direct one's own actions within clear responsibilities. Autonomy includes choices about what tasks to tackle, when to tackle them, how to approach them, and who to work with. When people gain more say over these dimensions, engagement and innovation often rise, as effort aligns better with internal rhythms and strengths. Examples include companies granting engineers 1 day a week to pursue chosen projects or teams scheduling regular whole days for self-directed work. Other experiments allow employees to choose working hours or locations, as long as agreed results are delivered for colleagues and customers. These designs treat people like trusted adults rather than machines, so they respond by taking greater ownership of problems and opportunities. In contrast, environments with fixed schedules, micromanaged methods, and constant monitoring tend to invite minimal compliance rather than genuine initiative. Workers in such settings may stop suggesting improvements and start doing only what is explicitly required to avoid criticism or sanctions. This contrast shows that autonomy is not the absence of structure, but the thoughtful transfer of choice within meaningful boundaries and goals. A helpful starting experiment is carving out limited time or projects where individuals choose their approach, while leaders carefully observe the impact. Another key element is mastery, the drive to enhance important skills through consistent practice and constructive feedback. Mastery hinges on viewing abilities as expandable rather than fixed, turning challenges into opportunities for growth rather than judgments on talent. Progress also necessitates working in the zone, where tasks are demanding enough to require focus, but not so difficult as to dampen morale. Moments of full absorption, often referred to as flow, frequently occur in this zone, where time seems to pass quickly and attention narrows naturally. Another crucial element is purpose, the feeling that efforts contribute to something larger than personal gain or immediate performance goals. People motivated by purpose often select employers, projects, or causes that align with their values, even when easier alternatives are available. Organizations that emphasize contribution alongside profit can become magnets for this motivation, especially when they measure social impact as rigorously as revenue. Teams in such places may track outcomes like healthier patients, cleaner neighborhoods, or more inclusive services alongside traditional business metrics. Together, mastery and purpose transform work into a path of growth and service, not just a series of tasks and paychecks. A practical approach is to identify one skill worth improving and one contribution worth expanding, then reorganize efforts gently around these goals. In the end, the central message is that traditional carrot and stick models cannot fully explain modern motivation at work. Biological needs and external rewards still matter, but a powerful third drive rooted in autonomy, mastery, and purpose keeps emerging. When organizations ignore that drive, they often see compliance without creativity, attendance without engagement, and short bursts of effort without persistence. When they take it seriously, they begin designing roles, systems, and cultures that treat people as self-directed contributors instead of passive resources. Experiments with puzzle solving, creative problem tasks, and everyday workplace policies repeatedly demonstrate how conditions shape these different patterns of behaviour. Across examples, the healthiest environments mix fair pay, clear expectations, and wide room for ownership, learning, and meaningful contribution. When that mix appears, people are more likely to pursue hard problems, recover from setbacks, and keep improving long after supervision fades. Motivation becomes less about pushing from outside and more about removing obstacles so inner drives can operate at full capacity. Choosing even one area to redesign through this lens can gradually transform how work feels for individuals, teams, and organizations. If a clearer, science-based view of motivation appeals, subscribe for more practical guides on putting these principles into practice.